Emergency HUD alert. A wave of shocking reports is circulating that could potentially impact low-income senior housing benefits across the country, and millions of older Americans are now asking one urgent question: will my housing support change or disappear? According to claims spreading rapidly online, a recent Supreme Court decision may have opened the door to major shifts in how HUD-assisted housing programs are structured, reviewed, or funded. While official confirmations are still developing, the uncertainty alone has already sparked fear, confusion, and concern among seniors, caregivers, and families who rely on these programs for stability and dignity. For many elderly Americans living on fixed incomes, housing assistance is not just support, it is survival. It is the difference between having a safe place to sleep or facing impossible financial pressure. And right now, even the possibility of change has created anxiety in communities across the nation. Could eligibility rules be adjusted? Could payment structures shift? Could certain benefits be delayed or reevaluated in the coming months? These are the questions people are urgently searching for answers to. In this video, we break down what is being reported, what may actually be happening behind the headlines, and what seniors and families should watch closely in the days ahead, so you are not caught off guard. Because when it comes to housing security, staying informed is not optional, it is essential. If you care about protecting your benefits and staying updated on critical housing changes, make sure to like this video right now so more people can see this important update and stay informed. If you're still watching, I want you to really stick with me here, because what's being discussed right now is creating a lot of confusion. And in moments like this, confusion is exactly what causes people to panic unnecessarily. First, let's be very clear about something important. There are a lot of posts, videos, and messages circulating online claiming that a Supreme Court decision has suddenly changed low-income senior housing benefits under HUD programs. These kinds of headlines spread fast because they are emotional, they sound urgent, and they immediately trigger fear for people who rely on housing assistance to survive. But when we slow everything down and look carefully, what we often find is that these stories are either incomplete, exaggerated, or still developing without official confirmation. Now, that does not mean nothing is happening. It simply means we need to separate confirmed facts from online speculation. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, known as HUD, manages a wide range of housing assistance programs that millions of seniors depend on every single month. These programs are designed to help low-income individuals, especially elderly citizens, afford safe and stable housing through subsidies, vouchers, and public housing support. For many people, this assistance is the difference between having a roof over their head and facing serious financial instability. So anytime there is talk of legal changes, court decisions, or policy adjustments, it naturally causes concern. And when those claims involve the Supreme Court, the concern becomes even stronger because people assume immediate nationwide impact. But here's what's important to understand. Even when the Supreme Court makes decisions, those rulings do not automatically rewrite housing programs overnight. In most cases, changes would require further implementation steps, federal agency adjustments, and sometimes even congressional action, depending on the situation. That means there is usually a timeline, not an instant switch. Right now, what is being widely shared online appears to be a mix of interpretations, partial information, and in some cases outright speculation about what a legal development could mean in the future. But there is no clear, verified confirmation that a sweeping, immediate change has been made to HUD senior housing benefits affecting millions of recipients overnight. Still, I understand why this feels alarming. If you are someone who depends on housing assistance, even the possibility of change can create stress. You start thinking about rent, stability, monthly income, and whether your situation could suddenly become harder. That emotional response is real, and it deserves to be acknowledged. But this is exactly why it is so important to slow down and focus only on reliable updates. Let's talk for a moment about how these kinds of stories usually spread. A headline appears online that sounds dramatic. It might mention emergency rulings, urgent changes, or major benefit shifts. Then that headline gets shared without full context. People repost it, add emotional commentary, and before long, it feels like something official has already happened. But in reality, the original legal document or official announcement is often far more limited in scope. That gap between what is actually happening and what people believe is happening is where confusion grows. Now, when it comes to HUD housing programs for seniors, changes are not something that happen quietly or without notice. These programs involve federal funding, state-level administration, and strict eligibility rules. Any real modification would typically be communicated through official government channels, published updates, and public notices well before affecting recipients directly. So if you are hearing about sudden, immediate changes with no official confirmation, that is a major reason to pause and verify. At the same time, it is still smart to stay informed. Even if this specific claim turns out to be exaggerated, housing policies can and do evolve over time. Eligibility requirements, funding structures, and program guidelines can be adjusted through legislation or administrative updates. That is why staying aware of official announcements from HUD and related government sources is always a good habit. But let's bring this back to what really matters for you or anyone relying on these benefits right now. If you are currently receiving HUD-assisted housing support, the most important thing is this: do not make sudden decisions based on social media headlines. Do not assume your benefits have changed unless you receive official written communication from your housing authority or a verified government source. Panic decisions can sometimes cause more harm than the situation itself. There is also another issue that tends to appear during moments like this, and it is something we need to talk about honestly. Whenever there is uncertainty around benefits or government assistance, scammers often take advantage of the fear. They may send messages claiming you need to re-verify your information immediately or risk losing your housing support. They might ask for personal details, bank information, or payment to secure your benefits. It is important to remember that legitimate government agencies do not operate that way. If anything changes, it will not come through random texts, emails, or social media messages asking for urgent personal action. So if you receive anything like that, treat it with extreme caution and verify it directly through official channels. Now, I want to shift for a moment from the headlines back to reality, because this is where many people start to feel overwhelmed. When you hear words like Supreme Court and benefit changes in the same sentence, it can feel like everything is unstable. But in practice, the system is slower and more structured than viral posts make it seem. Legal rulings are often complex. They may involve interpretations of existing law, challenges to regulations, or clarification of administrative authority. Even when a ruling has major implications, it usually requires follow-up actions from agencies like HUD before anything reaches the everyday lives of beneficiaries. That means there is a buffer between legal decisions and real-world impact. And during that buffer period, accurate information matters more than ever. This is why checking trusted sources is so important. Official HUD announcements, Federal Register updates, and established news organizations are far more reliable than viral posts that lack documentation. If something truly significant changes, it will be widely reported and clearly explained in detail, not buried in vague or emotional headlines. Now, I also want to acknowledge something that often gets overlooked in discussions like this. For many seniors, housing assistance is not just a program, it is stability, it is independence, it is dignity. The thought of losing or even potentially changing that support can bring real fear, especially for those living on fixed incomes. That emotional weight is real, and it deserves respect. But fear should never replace facts. Right now, the most responsible position is to say this clearly. There is no verified confirmation that a sudden nationwide change has already taken effect impacting HUD low-income senior housing benefits as described in viral posts. What exists instead is a wave of interpretation, speculation, and rapidly spreading claims that are still unconfirmed. And that distinction matters more than anything else. If anything official does develop, it will come through structured announcements, not surprise viral posts. And when that happens, the focus will shift from speculation to clear guidance on what actually changes, who is affected, and when it takes effect. Until then, the best thing anyone can do is stay calm, stay informed, and avoid reacting to incomplete information. Because in situations like this, the real risk is not just policy change, it is misinformation creating unnecessary fear. So here is what I want you to take away from all of this. First, do not panic based on headlines alone. Second, always verify information through official sources before believing it. Third, protect yourself from scams that try to take advantage of confusion. And finally, remember that housing assistance programs like HUD exist through structured systems that do not change overnight without clear public communication. We will continue watching for verified updates, and if anything truly important is confirmed, the details will matter far more than the rumors circulating right now. For now, stay grounded, stay aware, and make decisions based on facts, not fear.